Hey, this is Hank3, and you're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour, your source for all hard rock, heavy metal, new metal, alternative, punk, horror punk, hardcore, rock, and all local bands, with your host, John the Bod, a.k.a. the Bodfather.
Hey everybody, welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour. I'm your host, John the Bod, a.k.a. the Bodfather. As always, I'm bringing you guys awesome interviews, and today, this should be an awesome interview, everybody. I have on the phone with me right now none other than Mr. Hank3. What's going on, Hank?
Oh, hanging in there, just trying to get it all done and hopefully get back on the road sooner than later.
I tell you what, man, you've got a lot of fans out there, and I think it's really cool. I love your music, but looks like last October you came out with 2 CDs like in one time. October 1st of 2013 of last year, you released a double country album entitled Brothers of the 4x4 and a single punk album. So let's talk about those a little bit, if you don't mind.
Well, the country record, to me, it's got a lot of different moods on it. You know, it's got what I would consider a couple of real straight-up country songs in my eyes, like songs for Loners for Life or Deep Scars or Farthest Away. Mm-hmm. Those are more really what I would consider true country for me. And then you got a couple of songs that are a little different, like Nearly Gone or Toothpickin'. Those are kind of bluesy, but in a way they're kind of a little more of the rowdy and not necessarily full-on 100% pure country music. So I've always kind of mixed it up a little bit on my country records. You got, the songs like, had the one called Possum in a Tree that I wrote for Leroy Troy. That has a more of the 1950s kind of feel to it and sound to it as well. And then, of course, I always have a couple of have fun, drink some beer, and party kind of songs. That's just is what it is. I'll be doing those kind of songs until the day I die. That's right. Just a lot of my fans that come out to the shows are coming out to have a good time, and I put some sad ones on there too, but during my live shows for right now, I'm always trying to let everyone forget about their problems and just have some fun.
This is what I like about you, man. You put out multiple albums in different styles of music. I mean, just like you've got a punk album that's out entitled A Fiendish Threat, and this is on your new project called 3. I want to talk about this a little bit because both of these records you did at home, and you released them on your own label. Is this something that you want to do more of, or what do you want to do with that?
Well, if you look at my history, I've always kind of done that. Even back when I was on a major label, I was in the studio every day, having to fight producers and stuff like that. I was always hands-on. Never have I just said, okay, y'all make the song and I'll just show up and sing it and leave. I've never done that. I've been involved from beginning to finish. And ever since the record Straight to Hell, all the other albums have basically been done on my own, except maybe Damn Right and Rebel Proud, friend of mine. I took it to his place to get it kind of mixed. But for a long time, I've done most of the tracking here at the house, and I don't get the best sound, I don't get the worst sound, but I get my own sound, and that kind of makes it a little more unique. And one of the reasons why is sometimes I'll wake up at 5 in the morning and I want to start doing music at 6:30, and if I have to wait on someone else to show up, the energy or the spirit of the song might be gone. So it's a lot of extra work. It's a lot of, I play the drums on the records, I write the songs, I engineer it, I produce it, I mix it, I master it, and it's a lot more steps. But for now, at this point in my career, I'm lucky enough to be able to handle that kind of workload. And it just seems like it's gone pretty well for right now. And when I get older, I might not be able to do it, and I'll work with other engineers and stuff like that. But I've always been really hands-on. If it's on stage with gear or making records, it's just one of those things. You can always learn more about it. You just kind of find your way, and I'm trying to show kids also how they can make their own music, and you don't have to spend, some records, it can cost you $500,000 to make a record, and it'll take you almost 5 years to recoup that.
Yeah.
And a lot of kids can get in trouble with that scenario, but it just depends what you're going for. And I know what kind of songs I write. I know what kind of songs I sing. And who knows what the future will hold, but it's a trip. I've been on a project talking to you right now since November, and usually every day I'm working on it till my ears literally can't take it no more. So
the project that you're working on, is that going to be a new CD that's coming out, double CD? What are you actually working on?
It'll be a while. I still have to go out and do what I have to do for the Brothers of the 4x4 and the Fiendish Threat record. I still have a lot of work to do on that. So it'll be, in general, I always make records in the wintertime. It's just what I do. And sometimes they're punk rock records, sometimes they're country records, and then sometimes it's totally different stuff. Yeah. But all in all, it's keeping me playing drums, guitar, working with the sound stuff, and being creative. So it's either making music or doing leather work or chopping wood in the winter. So that's how it is.
See, that's ladies and gentlemen, that's what I like about Hank3. I mean, he's always putting the style of music that he likes out there, regardless if it's punk or metal or country, bluegrass. I mean, whatever. His roots lie deep and thick with country. So get a chance, check him out. You won't be let down, trust me. Since it is the digital age, Hank, do you think that it's helped musicians out more to where they can record on their own, say like in a tour bus, home, whatever, or do you think it's actually hurt? What's your opinion on that?
Well, that's a really tough question because there's a million ways to look at it.
Yeah.
Some people are against it that are more of the high up music people that are in the music business, and it really depends how you look at it and how you work it. Nowadays, there's a bunch of different bands. People have the option to record themselves. The musicians now have a little more power in their hands, but there's also that whole commercial corporate world that's going to try to squeeze out the independent artist as much as they can that does it on their own. And that's just, they call it the game or the music business. That's just how it is. There's a certain circle of people and songwriters that can get a song to number one on a radio. If it's a song that's no good or if it's a song that is good, they, if you pay them the right amount of money and jump through the hoops, they can get you on the number one. But for me, I always believe that there's a chance that real music can stand on its own 2 feet, and a good song doesn't have to sell itself. A good song will reach out to people regardless. And if you're lucky enough to still go out there and play music and promote your music, that in itself is a very special thing. A lot of my heroes, they just did what they did. Once in a while, they'd do a cover song, but, when Willie came to Nashville, he left Nashville for a reason, because they didn't really like his style. Same thing with Dwight Yoakam, same thing with Waylon, same thing with David Allan Coe. It just happens on and on and on. So there is a lot of people that don't like the digital aspect of it because of the game, and it's just really hard. There's so many takes on it. But, well, guys, in the punk rock world and the rock and roll world are fans of it. And, I know a lot of bluegrassers that are really hands-on and do it themselves, and it's all done in home. And it just kind of depends. I've heard some really famous engineers say it doesn't matter if you have $1 million studio or a $500 studio. All that matters is if you execute the idea that you want and you put the best that you can into it, and that you're satisfied with it in the end.
Yeah.
So,
because at the end of the day, it's all about the music.
It's really tricky, man. I mean, the music business is a very tough business. I've been fortunate enough to be on both sides of the coin. I've been around a major label and had to deal with the headaches of, trying to have my art and my vision censored. But that goes back to my live shows. I always played what I wanted to play live. I pay respect to my audience. I always make sure that the country fans get a country show at first, and then I do my rock, and then the speed metal and all that for the second part of the show, for one of the cheapest ticket prices on the road for a 4-hour show. So I've always kept it true as far as being respectful to my fans and, not trying to just be some punk rebel kid. I'm just doing what I can, and thankful to have the gift of writing songs and some people identifying with the emotions that I bring to the table. So, it's what I've done for a long time, and hopefully I can keep doing it.
You had another band called Ash Jack. Are you going to be doing anything else with that, or no?
In time, it just kind of, I would say in time, probably the heavier stuff will come back into play.
Uh-huh.
It just kind of, it just kind of rotates in a way. So, I got into the Doom stuff for a while, the 3-Bar Ranch stuff for a while, and, I have a lot of the heavier songs recorded. It's just a matter of getting back in there and finishing them up and then moving on. So, right now my goal is to be trying to hit everywhere that I didn't get to hit in 2013 as far as, the East Coast, down in Florida, New Orleans, Louisville, Kentucky, Chicago, Colorado, all the places that I didn't get to play some stuff off the new record. So, it always takes me anywhere from a year to 4 years to kind of break even on my releases.
Mm-hmm.
It just doesn't happen overnight. That's one of those things about being an independent artist in the underground. It's a beautiful thing, but it's a little extra work.
Right. Totally understand that. Hank, I know that your grandfather pretty much set the stage for country music, and plus you're your father, but who were some of your influences, and how old were you when you started into music?
Well, I always had a wide variety of vinyl laying around. So there was always Elvis Presley, Johnny Paycheck, Charlie Daniels, Queen, Ted Nugent, ZZ Top, Kiss, bands like April Wine, all kinds of different music I had access to. And when I was probably like 6 to 7 years old was when I had my first drum kit. And I had a guitar for a little while, and one of my babysitters had the nerve to steal it.
Wow.
And so I ended up with, just really identifying with the drums. Also, one of my babysitters, when I grew up, he was a drummer, and I kind of looked up to him like a big brother in a way, because he would always bring some rock and roll CDs over, and he would play drums and show me some stuff. And that was an instrument that I could put on the headphones and kind of teach myself how to play music. I would just play along with, I would start off with more simple songs, and I still do it to this day just to keep me in shape or to work on my rhythm. So drums was my first instrument, and then by the time I was, 11 to 12, I was getting into the guitar a little more. By the time I was 13, I was already in the garage punk rock bands, recording those and screaming into the microphone, and already listening to the Dead Kennedys and Sex Pistols and all kinds of different music. So there was a wide variety of music growing up. And way, way back, there used to only be one radio station, and that one radio station would play virtually all kinds of different music. It wasn't just geared one way. Mm-hmm. So I think that has a lot to do with me having a bit of an open mind, but being respectful to the genres. If I do a really crazy kind of project, I would, of course, put it under an alias name, so I'm not rubbing, my hardcore fans too raw.
When you were coming up and playing music and stuff locally, how was the scene there, or was there any scene at all? Was it tough, or did you have to go to different places? How was that?
It was always up and down, and there was a scene here in Nashville. And, of course, when we would have a chance to open up for one of, we got to open up for Fugazi, we got to open up for Public Enemy by chance, and we would tour the tri-state area, Kentucky, Georgia, Alabama, and that's about as far as we could get at that time. That's as far as the van would go, pretty much. And but playing locally was always good. We had a good camaraderie amongst a lot of the musicians. There was always some drama on people saying, oh, you're trying to sell out if you have this ticket price or if you play this venue. But we used to have a place called Lucy's Record Shop where you could go in and buy vinyl, and in the back you could go see bands play. So I saw a lot of great shows there, met a lot of wonderful people there. And then there was bars like the Cannery, which is still active to this day. We would play the bigger rooms, or we would do shows at the end. But, Nashville we didn't have Slayer. A lot of bands kind of would skip over Nashville, but we had a lot of the New Orleans sound coming up with some of the doom. And, we had Pantera playing here to make up for some of the heavier stuff.
Yeah.
So that in itself was a gift. I got to see Pantera probably 7 or 8 times in a 500 to 600 seat in just a bar room. I never saw them in an amphitheater. So, and it was always sold out. We're talking back before the internet and back when people would actually get a lot more excited about live shows.
Yeah.
People still get excited about them, but it's just a little different nowadays.
Yeah.
I got to see James Addiction open up for Iggy Pop. All kinds of different bands would come through. So the scene in the South has always been there for more styles of music than just one.
Do you prefer clubs, or I know you played some festivals, but what do you prefer better, clubs or festivals?
Well, let's say just by chance, if I was an overnight sensation and I was one of the biggest names in the music industry, I would play the same club 2 or 3 nights in a row, just to keep it a little more intimate. I've been on amphitheater stages. I've been on some stages in front of 500,000 people and all that stuff, and it's just something that's kind of different. There's nothing wrong with it every now and then, but there's nothing like the sound of a well-made bar that's in a good wooden room. It's just a lot more tighter. It's a lot more intimate, a little more face-to-face, and it's not as many headaches as far as parking and in general. I brief every security crew that works with us, and if I ever got, up in the amphitheater zone, you don't get to do that. It's a lot more friendlier and a lot more nicer dressing rooms and a lot more peaceful, but for what I do, there's something about the bars, and I've always said some of my heroes have left the bars, gone to the big stages, and then had to face the fact that they're ending up back in a bar. Mm-hmm. So if you never leave the bars and you keep it in there, And if you do get really super successful, just, do the 3 or 4 nights in a row, and you'll still have, you'll never be let down. Everybody gets to the top of the pyramid and starts to slide off the other side. But I think just in the bar circuit, if you look at the Melvins and the River Horton Heat and a lot of bands like that, there's a pretty cool camaraderie there. Now when I'm older, if I get to make it to 55 or something and I'm still able to do the show that I want to do, and I'm touring with, a Chris Christopherson or a Bob Dylan kind of package or something like that.
Yeah.
Every now and then it might be kind of, different. But for now, I've always, kept it for a cheaper ticket price. That's a whole other thing. To keep the ticket prices cheaper is playing in a bar.
Yeah.
If I go to an amphitheater, that in itself is going to raise the ticket price almost $30 to $40.
What can fans, for the ones that's not actually got to come out and see you yet, shame on you.
No doubt.
What can fans expect at a show from you, Hank?
Well, I've been out there over, 20 years, man, and I'm still able to do what I call the marathon shows. I always start off with an hour and a half to 2 hours of country. The first part of the show, usually there's no opening band, so I try to tell the folks to be on time. If it says doors at 7 and show at 7:30, that means we're going to go on at 7:30 because we usually play pretty long. So first hour and a half to 2 hours is the country. Then sometimes we do the Hellbilly sound. Then we do some of the new stuff off the 3 record, the Fiendish Threat. Then we turn the lights down and turn the movie on and do the attention deficit domination part of the show. That's some of the doom rock.
Nice.
And then to end it all, we do some of the 3-Bar Ranch, which was a little more power groove metal with some blast beats and stuff like that in it. So it's all over the place. It's interesting to see the people go through the changes and the energy throughout the room. Most people's attention span are about 5 minutes nowadays, and to have folks hang out for a 4-hour show and have some fun, sometimes it's a challenge and sometimes it's not. It just depends. Every night's different. Some nights feel like Friday night every night, and some nights feel like, we're having to work a little extra hard to try to get some movement out of the folks, or trying to, make some people forget about their problems.
I know this has happened several years ago, but I want your opinion on it, because you're up there, you're playing the music, and you're seeing the fans out in the crowd. Security, do you think that venues should take more steps to secure locations? Because, the thing that happened with Dimebag is totally insane, and I know we lost a great musician. But what's your take on that when you hit the stage every night?
Well, unfortunately, I hate to say, fate is fate, and no matter what, it's one of those things you cannot escape. Now, I am a firm believer that there should at least be somewhat of a pat down, just to make sure that, no guns and no knives are being brought in. I've played at venues where stabbings have happened and had to stop the show and all that stuff.
Wow.
But each club is different. Some places I play, they're very strict about it. They have the wands, and they're making sure that there is no weapons. And then some places I play just let people walk in the door. It's like you can't control every aspect of it. And it's always different. My thing with security is I'm always trying to say, let them have as much fun as they can. Don't forget they're coming here to have a good time. I don't need some steroided out road rage guy just picking on my fans through the whole show. Yeah. You should only be touching someone if you're breaking up a fight. Right. If someone's holding their hands up in the air and holding a beer up, there's no reason to put a flashlight in their face and shove them to the ground.
Yeah.
So that can be a really big damper on the show itself. I played a place in last year in North Carolina in Charlotte, and sure enough, I had the meeting with the head of security, and a few guys weren't there. But as the show went on, there was one guy that just kept beating the crowd down. I walk off the stage, the band keeps playing, I get the head of security saying, come on, man, we had this discussion. Can you get this guy off the floor? They probably threw out over 150 people for no reason. And if you look at their history, that club has had a lot of lawsuits against them because the way that they have treated their fans. So Jeez. I'm always trying to look out for the crowd, and I have that meeting with security guards so I don't have to, cause a scene on stage. I'm trying not to say, hey, dude, what's your problem? You're not doing your job like you're supposed to be doing. And that's, the security can play a really big factor in a show. So 90% of the clubs out there know what I do, respect how, I'm looking out for a fight just as much as y'all are. If there's a fight, I always stop playing and let y'all break it up. But there comes to a point where someone's just trying to be on an ego trip and trying to act like he's the tough guy in there because he's got, 10 guys to back him up.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
It's always different, man. Times are changing. Times in some states are a little tougher, but there's still those rock and roll punk rock clubs that know how to let a show happen and know how to step in when a situation is really needed. Most of the time, my fans they take care of themselves, and they usually stop an incident before it gets way too out of hand.
I've been at shows, Hank, and I've seen grown-ups be on their phones, and their kids will be wanting to hear a band play or something. And I'll be right next to them. They'll call their kid up and go, all right, here you go, listen. And I've seen security come right through the crowd and tell them to stop it. I mean, that's just a little overboard. Fans.
It's overboard. And that's also, some bands are like that. Some bands refuse for their picture to be taken, totally refuse to be bootlegged.
Yeah.
And I'm one that's not like that. I always tell security they can bring the video cameras in, they can use their phones, they can take pictures, they can, as far as all of that goes, it never hurt the Grateful Dead, and it'll never hurt me, because that's giving the fan his money's worth. They're paying my ticket price to come out of the house for a reason. So that's just another way that I try to look out for my fans in a different way. And a lot of musicians are totally against it. They don't take the side or the stance that I take like that. So everybody's different on that one.
When they leave your show or they listen to your albums, Hank, how would you want the fans to remember you?
Well, not everybody gets it, but as last year, there was an 80-year-old guy that hung out through the show, and he had an old battle flag with him, and he was like, hey, I might not understand everything that you do, but I really respect your work ethic and how you give it all you got every night. And as long as people know that I did the best that I could, and, I always tried to give them the best show, I always tried to be there for them. Even after a 4-hour show, I still shake every hand and do every autograph, and I think most people know that I'm pretty down to earth, pretty noble as far as hanging out with the folks, and I don't put myself up on a pedestal. I'm thankful to take the stage every chance that I get. Some nights are pretty intense, and there's a lot of beer cans and bottles thrown at you, and sometimes it's not. So it's not always a really pretty picture out there, but that comes with the territory. That comes with rock and roll and outlaw country. Is it's not all clean cut and everybody's perfect.
Kind of like the scene in the Blues Brothers where they're behind the mesh fence and they're in the bar playing, and you see beer bottles being thrown at them.
It's true, man. And, there's still some bars out there that, sell the glass bottles. And I've been on stage before and had over probably 200, 300 objects thrown.
Oh,
So
God.
as long as no one, we've all been lucky enough where no one's got it hit directly in the eye. But I do know some guys that I've been on the road with that's had to get stitches before, and it can happen quick.
Jeez.
And some guys let it get to them, and some guys don't. If I get hit, I'll just say, "Oh, that was a pretty good shot," and just keep on playing. Never once have I thrown down my guitar and walked off stage. Yeah, I mean, I would have to be cut pretty deep for that to happen.
Yeah. First time you heard the fans singing to your music, how did that make you feel?
Well, that's always a massive honor. The compilation that the Damn fans did was great. A lot of different styles. It was I still have those. Even to this day, just looking on YouTube and watching people in the United States or Europe, or if it's some old guy or some young kid doing their take of a song, it's a good feeling, man. So, but when those 2 CDs came out, I was definitely proud and glad that some folks were able to have some fun. And for the, full-on hardcore collectors out there, it's definitely something to have in the collection.
Any new bands that you like right now that you're listening to?
Well, I'm kind of out of touch a little bit because it's like I wake up in the mornings and I usually turn on YouTube, and it can vary from old bluegrass to old punk rock to, always I've been a big fan of Those Poor Bastards and Wayne the Train Hancock, and it's just been a little bit since I've really got to sit down with a lot of the CDs that I've gotten from the road and do my homework. I know there's some great ones. I just haven't had that opportunity yet to, just jam all these CDs and listen to them while I'm, fixing stuff. So it'll be soon. I know it's out there. For now, the biggest thing I've really been turned on by is more of an older compilation. I've said it a million times, but the Killed by Death compilation is really cool. Punk rock from the 70s all the way up to the 80s. And each song is a different band. So you get a lot of different kind of knowledge and sounds, and then you get turned on to some other bands. But there's quite a few of those records out. And that right now has been something I just enjoy the way it sounds and how much area it covers.
Is it hard for you to put a set list together during your live show? I mean, because you've got a lot of music that's out there and a lot of albums. Is that tough for you guys to do?
It's harder on the musicians I work with. When I take the stage, there really is no set list, because I'm a firm believer that kind of keeps it creative, keeps it more free and not as stale night after night after night doing the same songs.
Yeah.
The only time I have a set list is during 3 Bar Ranch, because we're working around samples and the front of the house guy has to activate those samples. So most of the time I'm just, I'll start off with a couple of familiar ones like Thrown Out of the Bar, Crazed Country Rebel, and just get a feel. I'm getting a feel for the crowd, for the band. Some nights the drummer's hurting, some nights I'm hurting, and some nights the crowd are hurting. So I in my eyes, it just keeps it fresh, man. And like I said, I tell my players, if I have a new player in the band, don't worry about every single little note. Just worry about the feel of the song and be more quick, because I'm going to be spitting them out pretty fast. I don't have many intros, and I don't have much dead time on stage. If you look on a lot of the videos that people have bootlegged, I'm not really talking between each song. I'm usually singing more than I am talking.
Yeah, it's kind of like you get a Misfits show. If you've ever seen the Misfits live, it's like one song done and you're into the next one.
Pretty much. It's about keeping that momentum going. And, once you stop and you cool down, sometimes you just don't get back up where you were. As I would say, I get to raise the flag once a night. And as Henry Rollins would say back in the day, a performance to him was one deep breath, and it feels like you nailed it all. So
awesome.
All the genres of music is the same. It's all one performance to me. I love being able to do the multi-genre stuff. If I had to say, do I have a favorite between the country, the rock, or the speed metal, it's always different, man.
Yeah.
I put just as much heart and guts into it as I do any other genre.
What do you think that Hank3 brings to the table for music?
Well, I would just say that the rebel attitude, marching to your own drum beat. I write songs because I write songs. I don't sit in an office with 4 or 5 other people and try to, do what they do on Music Row. And to me, I just think that's keeping it real. No matter what style of music that I'm doing, my rhythm is always going to be a little different than most records. My song formula, the way I write songs, is going to be different than most folks. So there's a lot of pluses and minuses. Some people like it that it is different, and some people don't. They're just used to the standard 2 minutes and 22 seconds for a good song, where in my eyes, most good songs are 7 minutes long. Mm-hmm. So it's that's part of the beauty of it. And I've been lucky enough just to be that guy that's not too famous but not too small. I've been right there, kind of in the middle, and I've got to work a lot with my country heroes and rock heroes, and I think there's just a lot of creativity that I bring through the songs, no matter what style I'm doing.
What does it mean to you when you have a fan or you receive an email saying, hey, your music's helped me through a tough time, or during this good time, it's really motivated me? What's that mean to you?
Well, that's the biggest payoff you can ever get as a musician, knowing that you helped someone through a dark time. There's no other biggest payoff. I mean, even like if you look at actors like Terry Dean Stanton, he's done over 250 films. If he gets a message like that, it's something that money can't buy.
Right.
And there's a lot of guys in the military that I've met out there, and it's helped them through the war, and then it's also helped them after the war. And there's a lot of people out there that's gone through the heartbreak and lost a loved one. There's a lot of guys out there that have said, because what you did for your son and not being a deadbeat dad, you made me want to step up and be a little bit, be the best that I can be in that area. So it's always great when you're able to just help someone in a different kind of way. A lot of people might say I have a negative message with the partying songs and the drinking songs and all that, but I try to level it out every now and then with a couple of the, more lighthearted stuff, and that's you got to be a little dark and depressed sometimes to reach a lot of people, because there's a lot of people and a lot of pain out there in different kind of ways. So it's a never-ending fight. That's for sure. Life isn't that easy. Even Loretta Lynn would say, life kind of gets a little more complicated the older you get. So that's just the gift of music, is the emotions and the way it's able to help other people and take their mind off of some stuff for a while.
Awesome. Hank, man, I want to thank you for taking time out for doing this interview with me. This has been really awesome. Really was looking forward to doing this interview with you. I've been a huge fan of you for a long time and just love your music, and thanks for doing this for me.
Anytime, man. We're going to start our tour hopefully June 1st, and we'll be touring the rest of the year. Like I said, if we come to your town, show up on time. There's no local bands that will be opening up or anything like that. For the hardcore collectors out there that like vinyl or the CDs, Hank3.com is the best place to get all that stuff. And hopefully I'll be seeing y'all sooner than later, man.
Hank, before I let you go, will you care to do a promo for the show?
No, that's fine. Hey, this is Hank3, and you're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Thank you so much. Everybody, stay tuned. We got some Hank 3rd coming up, and you only hear these interviews right here on BODS Mayhem Hour and Uber City Radio. Have a good one, Hank.
You too, man. See you out there.